The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
In a quiet suburban neighborhood, what began as an ordinary afternoon turned into sheer horror. Samantha Booth, a 23-year-old nanny, had been trusted to care for a 2-year-old child, but investigators say she spiraled into a psychotic frenzy after taking psychedelic mushrooms. Authorities allege Booth suddenly attacked the child's grandfather, stabbing him repeatedly with a screwdriver when he tried to intervene. The terrified toddler's uncle rushed in, wrestled Booth away, saved the child's life. Police say the grandfather died at the scene. Now Booth faces murder charges, accused of unleashing unimaginable violence. Tonight, the latest in this bizarre, tragic case. Meanwhile, convicted of one of the most chilling crimes in Idaho history, the Idaho 4 killer now claims he can't afford restitution to the victims' families. But prosecutors say otherwise, pointing to donations pouring in from online supporters who've raised money on his behalf. The state argues those funds prove he can contribute financially even behind bars. But tonight, we are asking, who would donate money to this monster? But first, 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard vanished after leaving California with her mother, Ashlee, on a mysterious cross-country trip that ended in Nebraska. Ashlee came back after 3 days, but without Melodee. For weeks, the nation has watched as Ashlee locked herself in her home, refusing to cooperate or tell anyone where Melodee is. Now, new developments as investigators turn up the heat and start executing warrants. Tonight, the latest in the search for Melodee. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And let me tell you, it's absolutely frustrating what is taking place out in Lompoc, California, with this woman, Ashlee Buzzard, refusing to cooperate, refusing to speak, refusing to provide the most important, what should be the most important information in her life right now, which is the location and status of her 9-year-old daughter, Melodee. She's been missing ever since Ashlee went on this crazy drive from Santa Barbara County, California, out to Nebraska, down to Kansas, and back home. She left with her 9-year-old daughter, disguised, but came back without her. And she's just 9 years old. She could be out there alone. She could be out there with a stranger. She could be in a very bad, very, very bad spot. She could be the victim of homicide. All those possibilities are alive tonight because she's just not speaking. And the part that disturbs me is the disguising of her. She put the disguise on Melodee to make sure people couldn't see her, like the distinctive hair. You're gonna notice a little girl who walks around with hair like that. Threw a wig on her so people wouldn't necessarily be able to recognize her. But that also tells me that maybe there's a chance, maybe a good chance, or maybe I'm just hoping there's a good chance, that she's still alive and can be rescued. But she could be anywhere at this point. Literally anywhere. Now, the life that this little girl was living was really locked away from the world. Her mother homeschooled her, taking her out of the public school so a little girl can't make friends and play and do all the things that kids do in school, which would be fine if you were actually homeschooling her and getting her involved with activities with other children who were homeschooled. That wasn't taking place. And she's also locked herself away from the world. Ashlee has. People knocking on the door, trying to get information. She doesn't open unless she has to. Relatives have gone by. Family members of this little girl. Going there with not accusatory, but, hey, can we help? Where is she? Do you need anything? We want to see if you guys are okay. And she just locked the door, shut everybody out until she couldn't. That's because they are now turning up the pressure on her. I'm talking about law enforcement. Got her out of the house, served her with the warrant, and they are searching that house for anything, for anything. The problem is, if some sort of harm came to that child, it may not have happened in that house, because the last time we saw her was on surveillance video at the car rental company. And then she got in the car, went on this crazy drive, and never came back. But there could be information in that house that leads to where she went on this trip, where she may have been, people she was communicating with. All of that is up in the air. So we've got a lot of information for you tonight, and Crystal Bermudez from Scripps News Group, we've had her on the program many times on this story. She is leading the coverage of this story out in Lompoc, and she has the latest for us tonight.
Neighbors tell me unmarked vehicles arrived outside the Mars Avenue home of Ashlee Buzzard around 9:15 in the morning. At one point, she was seen handing over what appeared to be a key after a man gave her a single-page document. When I arrived just after 10:30, I captured video of 3 people escorting Ashlee into the front passenger seat of an unmarked van. When I asked who they were with,
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm with KSBY News. Can you confirm if you're with the FBI or if you're with investigators?
no one responded.
Can you confirm which agency? I'm with KSBY.
This comes a day after a neighbor's surveillance footage captured Ashlee removing posters about her missing daughter from outside her home. Melodee was reported missing on October 14th after school officials reported her prolonged absence. Authorities have announced they're focusing on a 3-day period between October 7th and 10th when Ashlee reportedly rented a car and drove with Melodee to Nebraska, making a stop in Kansas on the way back and returning home without her daughter. The FBI is assisting with the investigation.
FBI in on this, and they have been on this, because you're talking about 1,200 miles from where she lives in Lompoc to Nebraska. You know, to get there, it's about, between 22, could be 25 hours of driving, depending upon how far into Nebraska you go. And she went there and back within like 3 days. That's a lot of driving, not a lot of time to do anything else, perhaps sleep a little bit and do whatever resulted in Melodee not coming back. Let's take a listen. This is Raquel Zick. She's with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. She's the public information officer there, and she has some more information for us tonight.
We're doing multiple searches, and that we're utilizing our partners at the FBI that have some really, great equipment, training, experience, people, all of those things. We're coming at this investigation with from every angle and with everything that we have access to.
Turning up the pressure. What's it going to take, though, to make this mother speak? I mean, the answer is right there. Like, where did you leave her? What did you do anything to her? Did you give her to someone? What happened? She's not saying. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney Josh Colesrud is with us, along with former law enforcement officer and host of the Strong Enough podcast, Claudia King, and entertainment host Holland Reed with us as well. Great to see everyone tonight. All right, what's it going to take to make her speak tonight? Josh, start us off.
Yeah, sure, Vinny. I've been in this situation before as a prosecutor, and there are times where you have to do certain techniques to make someone talk. And here, what they need to do is have a grand jury investigation, issue a subpoena for her to appear. And then you grant her use of immunity, meaning that nothing that she can say before the grand jury can be used against her in a court of law. Then she cannot plead the fifth, and she can be compelled to answer questions. And if she doesn't answer the questions before the grand jury, she could be held in contempt and thrown in jail. So the prosecutors really need to decide what's more important? Is it the safety of Melodee, or is it trying to get some type of charges on the mother going forward?
The clock is ticking here, Claudia.
I totally agree. The clock is ticking, and I just don't know if she is going to speak out. So I feel like the next step for law enforcement is going to be to really utilize these searches, get into her cell phone, look at the vehicle that she rented, and figure out her travel path so that they can start the very laborious process of going through traffic cams along the highways of her route of travel to see when there were 2 people in the car and then when there was 1 person in the car. I think that's the route they're going to have to go. I mean, this lady's taking down the posters of her missing child in front of her house, so I don't think she's going to talk.
Yeah, that, Holland, taking down the post, like your child is missing and you don't want the world to know?
You're exactly, Vinny, and it's the same thing that Josh and Claudia said. It's like, okay, at this point, what are we doing here? You're the one person that could solve this, end this, fix this, and you're the one taking down the posters. I'm going to go with some of your other colleagues that have said on other shows today, let her hang herself. Maybe let her give her just a little bit more rope to make the mistake on this journey of trying to conceal what has happened to her daughter. It makes no sense. So I completely agree. But at the same time, now the hammer has to be like brought down because she's the one person that has the answers, and it makes no sense that she's still walking free.
All right, let's talk about the search that is happening right now. What are we going to find in there? To me, if like something, I think a crime has already been committed because she's not with her child. To me, that's child neglect, child abuse, whatever you want to call it, abandonment. But if something happened to her, I don't think it happened in her house. So what are we going to find inside the house? I'll start with you, Claudia. What is law enforcement looking for? What are they going to find? What would you expect to find that might lead you closer to an answer here?
So I think you're right. Whatever happened to her didn't happen in the house, but first and foremost, they would be looking for blood or other biologicals. But other than that, they're going to look for clues as to this trip that she took. So are there any receipts? Are there any plans that she wrote out? Maybe she has a diary where she detailed what she was going to do. Maybe there's things that Melodee drew or wrote or had in her room where she wrote some things because maybe mommy was talking about taking a trip. So I think they're going to look for anything that will tell them where she went and exactly what route she took and maybe what her plans were. But I think they're really going to have to get into her phone to get the big information.
You know, one of the things that's been happening in this case is everyone is talking about mental health and her state of mind, that she's had problems ever since Melodee's father passed away years ago when Melodee was 6 months old. And that's the way it's been described to me. How do you approach, how do you handle that aspect of it? Is there any way to compel her to get help, to get mental help that may put her in a state of mind where all of a sudden she'll want to cooperate? Is that another way? Is there any way that you can make that happen, Josh?
Yeah, you can mentally commit somebody, but only if you can show that she is a danger to herself or a danger to others.
Is she not a danger to Melodee at this point? If she's like, is that like on its face kind of evidence that she's a danger to a 9-year-old who is somehow not at home with the only person who has custody?
I think that the court will want corroborating evidence or something that shows that not only did she have possession of her daughter the last time anybody saw her, but also there's evidence that something happened to her, either, you know, blood found in the rental car or evidence that she was abandoned somewhere. I think that a court is going to want to see that.
You know, Holland, the other thing is family members have tried. They've tried to speak with her. I don't know how you approach her. You know, this is heartbreaking. And if she's like seriously mentally ill, That's heartbreaking too. But first, the 9-year-old.
So there's no excuse. What mother puts a wig on their child to take them across state lines, across the country? Let's start there. Clearly, the mental illness has been established. We said this the other night. The family members and the neighbors and the people that are standing outside screaming, asking for answers. Those buzzards swirling around yet again, circling around, waiting for answers. I think at this point, mental health, we know it's on the table. Unfortunately, that's not going to help the situation if the person with mental illness is not cooperating, as you said, or is not brought in and forced to cooperate, as Josh has said. It's unfortunate, but I don't see that anyone is looking at this as some, oh, she just wanted to, you know, take her kid on a vacation. No, she masked her kid and then returned without her child. So everyone involved knows that this is a serious mental health situation, but what do you do about it after this? Is it a legal thing? Is it the friends standing and banging on the door, screaming and crying for help? Is it a CPS worker coming in? I don't know what the answer is, but I know that everyone right now is dying and screaming for answers.
I'm not normally an advocate for public shaming, but I think they do really people need to be out there by her house, just like they did with Scott Peterson, and begging for answers. I don't know if that would do any good, but we have to try everything to try to get this woman to talk. Nothing has worked so far. Yep. Let's try something different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, full court press. They have to do it with the mental health stuff. They should do it with the grand jury. Obviously, if there's a search warrant, there's probable cause for some type of activity that is going on with her. So there's a lot of different things that law enforcement can do to significantly put pressure on her to talk.
Let's go around the horn now and hear from everyone what they think happened here, based upon everything that we know. And Holland, we'll start with you.
I hate to say it, but I had these dreams, and I'm not the weirdo that has dreams, but I kind of am. I feel like she's been sold. I feel like she's been sold. She has been trafficked, if I'm saying that the right way. I'm not sure if she's deceased, but I feel like she has been given to someone through some type of channel, and that's why the disguises were had. That's why she's being silent, and that's why really there's no evidence of brutality at this point, but just the missing aspect alone. I feel in my gut and my heart and my spirit that she's been sold.
Claudia?
I unfortunately think she's deceased. I think she may have been sold initially, but to somebody that did not want to necessarily traffic her, but to do something even more horrific. And I think she's not with us any longer, unfortunately.
Josh, what is your working theory right now?
Well, I like what both Holland and Claudia said, and unfortunately, I think that we all know that if we haven't heard that Melodee is safe and sound by this point, it's probably unlikely that we're going to ever hear that again. So whether she's deceased or trafficked in some manner, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. The one thing that gave me hope was the wig. As bizarre as that is, the problem is if she was in the hands of someone who was caring for her, you know, some random friend or person that she interacted with online or somewhere else, I think that person may have reached out already, and that hasn't happened. And the fact that no one is saying anything and no one is seeing anything makes me think that this could be a very bad result. Does anyone think there's any chance that she was just left on her own, and as a 9-year-old, wherever she is just sort of surviving day by day on her own? Is that even possible, Claudia?
I would love to think it is, and based on her history with her mom, she probably is pretty resourceful on her own. I just, unfortunately, though, don't see that as possible. I think, though, if anyone could survive being left on their own, Melodee could, because she's kind of had to raise herself a little bit, dealing with Ashlee as her mother.
Yeah, and all the places, I mean, they passed through. It was a desert, the mountains, the forest, through cities. Could be anywhere tonight. All right, here's the good news. Our think tank is staying with us. We've got a lot more to get to this hour. Coming up, we are going to talk about, the mass murderer from Idaho. People are sending him money? Why and who? Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates a rideshare driver arrives to pick up a package, but she never leaves. Tonight, the case of William Brock, a man haunted by scam calls and now accused of murder. How did a delivery turn into death? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
The defendant is responsible for restitution underneath the statute. It clearly says that. This is a part of the restitution. He'll be ordered to pay it. I don't think there's any issue about it. And the GoFundMe accounts are really raised by strangers that are helping out the family. It's not the families themselves. And as far as ability to pay, guess what? Most defendants don't have an ability to pay, especially ones that are incarcerated. And then what happens is a lot of times that final restitution payment is turned into a judgment, and then that judgment can be enforced later on.
Shannon Gray, he's the attorney for Kelly Gonzalez's family, the victims, one set of the victims in the case out of Idaho. And there's still more litigation taking place in this case. Litigation about the killer paying back the families, the victims in the case, restitution. Now, there was an initial restitution agreement. Take a look at it. We have it for you. The killer agreed to pay $29,000 in restitution between the families of Xana and Ethan for reimbursement of the compensation fund. In addition, prosecutors submitted financial compensation filings last month and sought $27,330 for the families of Kaylee and Madison. An itemized statement was filed under seal, but relates to travel and accommodations for the families that were going to court and everything connected to that. And believe it or not, the defense is fighting this. Like, they don't want to pay the money that you are statutorily owed. So they filed their papers, say, he doesn't have any money, he'll never be able to pay it, et cetera, et cetera. So now the state has responded to that, and I want you to take a look at this. The defendant argues that restitution should not be awarded based on defendant's ability to earn money or pay money given his 4 consecutive life sentences plus 10 years. In this case, there's a history of this defendant receiving financial compensation from family and third parties. By way of example, the state is attaching a summary of the financial contributions made to defendant while he was in custody at the Ada County Jail and the Latah County Jail. In the event the defendant is able to obtain financial compensation from third parties or family, the victim should have ready access to these assets for the satisfaction of their losses. Additionally, this case has and will continue to attract worldwide attention, which could result in the defendant prospectively receiving money subject to interception by the state treasurer pursuant to the statute out there. So what's the takeaway here? To me, it's not about this battle, should he pay, should he not pay, but there are people giving him money, like sending money to this guy, to this monster. Like, I was surprised enough when I saw that Luigi Mangione raised $1 million, a guy on video allegedly killing a man in cold blood, stalking him, following him, and then shooting and killing him. And we've seen his supporters outside the courthouse, and we know what they've done. And he's raised over $1 million. He has a trial coming up. He's a millionaire, comes from a family that has tens of millions of dollars, yet he was able to raise that money. But, you know, speaking with the people who are raising the money, I at least understand their thinking. I don't agree with it, but I understand their thinking. What in this case, though? What in this case? Let's bring back in our think tank, Josh Colesroot, Claudia King, Holland Reed. Holland, I want to say, like, what's wrong with people? Why are people giving money to this guy?
Vinnie, if you can understand their thinking, then please help me out, because my brain cannot conceptualize any of this. We are literally in a government shutdown where people can't buy food essentially as of tomorrow, but yet you're sending money to a killer of 4 young, innocent, college-age students with their entire lives ahead of them. You have frozen their families' lives, all of their emotional distraught, and put a hard pause on an entire world and entire existence. And this guy gets the money, gets the cash. I'm sorry, it ticks me off to no end. I think the people that are watching this, that are the ones sending this money, need to do a hard moral reset on this. What is wrong with you? What are you thinking? This person does not need to not only not earn any money, receive money, but every single penny that he gets for the rest of his life needs to go to those 4 families, all of those people that have lost so much. Freeze it all, shut it down. It makes no sense that this is even allowed from a third party.
You're right. Vinnie, this case is a little bit different than the Luigi Mangione case, where, people are supporting Mr. Mangione because of his political views. Here, that's not the case. However, I would like to point out that there is a well-known and documented fetish that certain people have for serial killers. And we see this and saw this with other serial killers, such as Charles Manson and others who actually married some of their fans. And, these people idolize and fetishize serial killers and send them money, partly because these serial killers are famous and infamous, and they want to be a part of that story. Luckily, I looked up the laws in Idaho, and the victims in this case can get up to 25% for restitution to garnish any of those donations that end up on his books.
Which 25% is great, but it should be 100%, because we already know he doesn't eat honey buns anyway, so he doesn't need that from the commissary. I also want to say I find it incredibly disingenuous for his counsel to even put forth this motion, because they know he's getting this money from third parties. They know what they said isn't exactly true, that he doesn't have this money. These women or people that are sending this money, please, why are we going to only murderers now? What are we doing? I agree with Holland. You need to take a look in the mirror, maybe get a hobby that doesn't involve people who murder people.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me. This guy of all, right? This is someone who killed just to kill. There was no connection to these 4 young ladies. It wasn't like revenge. It wasn't passion. It wasn't, a business deal gone wrong. It was nothing like that. He just killed because he wanted to kill someone. And taking people at such a young age, I think is what, and it's 4 at once. It just, it hurts. It really hurts. And the impact that it had on the whole community, the impact it had on the country. Like, every parent who had a child in college was like, oh my goodness, wait a minute, what's going on here? And what's really shocking in this particular case, Holland, is some of the parents spoke. And Kaylee's father said one of the reasons that she went to this school was because low crime rate. It was a safe place for him to send his daughter. And to me, that is the ultimate heartbreak for that dad.
That's what's so infuriating about the aspect of people sending this man money. Why don't you send it to a scholar at the college? Why don't you start a fund for the students that passed away? Your fetish is more, it's not even just sickening, it's a detriment to the community in which you're involved in, and it makes no sense that I'm sorry, I get passionate about these things, because I look at people, and these are these women that are like oh, we want to support women, but then you go support a murderer or a rapist or what have you by sending them money because they look sexy or they look a certain way. Why don't you take that money that you would have sent, whether it's $25 or $25,000, to the college that where all this happened? It makes no sense to me, and it makes my blood boil.
Absolutely. All right, here's what we're going to do. Everyone stand by. When we come back, we've got a story involving a killer nanny, but this isn't a case of like, oh, an accident happened or oops, or, you know, someone fell asleep. No, this is like a brutal, brutal killing. But does she have a defense? We'll talk about it when we come back.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
This is David Ong, 83 years old. These are images of him enjoying his time with his family, enjoying his life, enjoying his golden years, as any man who's lived a life like he has should be. But tonight, he's not enjoying life with his family. That's because he's a victim of a brutal, brutal attack. This one's shocking. This one is really shocking. I want to show you an image of the accused killer. Take a look. This is Samantha Booth, 35-year-old nanny who was taking care of David Ong's granddaughter, 2 years old, and had been taking care of her for 2 years, had been helping the family out, been helping David's daughter out. But police say instead of helping out the baby, the 2-year-old, the toddler, she killed 83-year-old David Ong. All right, Scripps News Group out of Detroit has the details for us tonight.
Inside a Royal Oak District courtroom, an arraignment taking place for 35-year-old Samantha Booth, charged with first-degree murder, second-degree child abuse, felony assault, and resisting and obstructing police. Booth declined to appear on camera or leave her cell, according to her attorney.
No response from her verbally or otherwise.
Due to the severity of the crimes and Booth's current mental state, I believe there is grave danger to the public.
Prosecutors say she was babysitting a 2-year-old on Sheridan in Royal Oak on Friday, while the child's mother and aunt were on a trip out of town together. When the mother couldn't reach Booth, prosecutors say the child's grandfather, David Ong, came by to check on her, and that's when they say the nanny attacked and killed him with a household tool.
They were searching for something, it was quite obvious. So it was just a very terrifying experience.
This neighbor asked that we not show their face because they live so close to the crime that has devastated so many. She broke down, recalling the scene.
It's incredibly sad. It sent me to church on Sunday. Prayed for the family.
The child's uncle allegedly found the victim and rescued the child from the nanny, who was allegedly covered in blood and making incriminating comments. Booth was arrested after removing her clothing and running through a neighbor's yard. Prosecutors say Booth had been watching the child for 2 years without issues, but they did find psychedelic mushrooms and marijuana in her purse. Mental health expert Dr. Gerald Shiner telling me this behavior suggests a particular type of crisis.
When you start dealing with natural products like mushrooms, there are so many different chemicals that could be there. They can make you frightened, paranoid, aggressive, or withdrawn, and there's no telling what you get. To run out in public with no clothes on, that's very disorganized behavior. That's most consistent with intoxication with a hallucinogen.
Mom in this case did what she was supposed to do. This person was allegedly trusted and known to this family, and there was nothing in her appearance or background that Mom knew about.
Let's bring back in our think tank, Josh Colesrud, Claudia King, Holland Reed. Claudia King, let me ask you, it's the mushrooms. It's got to be the mushrooms, right? And if it is the mushrooms, what does that mean, right? Like, does this mean that this is a killer who needs to go away forever? This is an alleged brutal attack, with a screwdriver, but after it happens, she takes off all her clothes and is running around.
I do think it's the mushrooms. She also had marijuana on her, and the combination of the two can really intensify the effects. So it could be that combination. Now, despite that, she, as we believe, took these substances voluntarily. So yes, I believe she is entirely responsible for her actions, even if it was the mushrooms and they created some psychedelic effect. I still think she did it. She's responsible. I believe when she was in the police car, she admitted to doing it, which we knew. I don't think she gets any mercy just because she was high on psychedelics.
Anyone seeing any mercy?
Josh, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, this is an interesting case, to say the least. You have somebody who's never been in trouble before, never even been arrested, if reports are true, who had a significant psychotic breakdown of somebody who she knew very well when she was supposed to be taking care of a young child. And, you know, what we have here is probably voluntary intoxication, meaning that, that she's not going to have as a defense some type of insanity based on this psychotic episode. Now, most states have a rule that if you voluntarily intoxicate yourself, whether it's with alcohol or something else, even if it turns out to be something you didn't think was theirs. For example, if the mushrooms were laced with fentanyl or some other type of DMT type of hallucinogen that she was unaware of, that's not going to count it. I mean, that's not going to cut it. Like, she's still going to be responsible. And Vinnie, I think that the prosecutor really needs to throw down the hammer here, because they need a deterrent effect, right? The punishment has to be so severe that it deters other people from doing something similar in the future.
I'm just going to piggyback on that. That's Josh. That's exactly what I was thinking. Is the choice was made. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? We can go back to the 80s and remember that. It doesn't matter if you thought it was clean marijuana or laced marijuana, clean mushrooms or laced mushrooms. You took them. You took them willingly. You took them freely. And the consequences of your actions are now someone losing a grandfather, a father, and you losing your freedom. The legalities of it, you know, that's not my wheelhouse, but the common sense of it is that exactly what Josh says is like, I don't know how you defend that when if you go back to point A, you don't get to point C without having point A. And point A was taking the drugs to begin with, whether you knew what was in them or not.
And the other part of that I think is really bad, you're watching a 2-year-old. That's reason enough. Like, your own time in your own apartment by yourself, you do something. I think that's one situation. It's not great, but that's one situation. You are the one responsible for a 2-year-old and you choose to do that, that's where I lose any and all sympathy. If the story can't get sadder, take a look at this. This is from Grandpa's daughter, who is the mother of the little girl, Kellyanne Smith. I have to share the saddest post I've ever written, and I ask for your prayers. My father, David Ong, died tragically on Friday evening while protecting his cherished 3-year-old granddaughter. The loss is immeasurable. Anyone who knows my dad knows that he is a gentle giant, a man of incredible kindness, love, and faith. I've often said he is simply the best man I know. I ask for your prayers for my wonderful family, most especially my mom. They shared a 65-plus year love. 65 years together building this beautiful family, and this is how it ends for David Ong. This is shocking. For the mom, Claudia, I don't know how she sounds strong, right? She sounds strong in this post, and I think with the family around her, it's going to help. But what an awful, awful position she's been put in. She made the call to her dad to say, "Hey, Dad, the nanny isn't answering. Can you go check on our little girl?" And that's what he did.
And he is a hero, Vinny, and I think that's what this mom will lean on for the strength that she needs to get through this. Because had she not called him, who knows what would have happened? Then had the brother-in-law not showed up when he did, who knows what would have happened? Because the 3-year-old was still there through all of this. So I think mom can be strong knowing that he was a hero and saved that little baby girl.
Absolutely. It's a family of heroes. Josh Colerud, Claudia King, Holland Reed, thank you all so much. When we come back, something else you need to know, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, he believed he was being scammed. She arrived for a routine pickup. Now murder charges stand against William Brock, and a community reels from the fallout. When fear grips the elderly, where does justice begin? Tonight, we investigate.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Joyride to jail. Wild story out of Florida. A teenager arrested after going 106 miles per hour down the road. He gets pulled over. We've got the body cam video for you. Let's take a look.
What's your deal?
I'm so sorry, sir. We were just in the bridge, and my mom was kind of rushing me to go take him home.
At 106 miles an hour, she wants you to drive 106 miles an hour down the bridge.
No, sir, no, that was completely my mistake. That's why I was slowed down when I was getting towards the end of the bridge.
It doesn't matter. You're not supposed to be doing 106 anyways.
I'm very sorry about that, sir.
You know what that means, right? You get caught doing 50 miles over the posted speed limit on any roadway in the state of Florida. Yeah. It's an arrestable offense now. So go ahead and turn around. So you are being placed under arrest.
Oh my God. Wait, so where am I going?
To Lee County Jail.
Are you serious? I'm
I am
there?
1,000%. No, you'll be able to bond out. It'll probably be about 4 hours, but yeah.
Rough lesson for that teenager, but 106 miles per hour could have killed himself, his passenger, and someone else on the road. All right, take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Brooklyn Edith Sanchez, just 17 years old, missing out of Houston, Texas since the 28th. If you see Brooklyn, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911. 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Houston Police Department in Texas. That number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Brooklyn to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.
There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.